The Humboldt Schools, motivating achievement since 1906.
Welcome to the December edition of the Humboldt Experience. My name is Dan Streeter and I am the proud superintendent of the Humboldt Unified School District, and we have a great show lined up for you today. I'm really excited about our guests. I have two outstanding young ladies who are going to talk a little bit about what their education experience has looked like the last few years at their elementary school. And then I have one of our outstanding elementary school principals who will also be joining us on the show to talk about really the great things that are happening in our schools and what the future might look like for our schools. But before I jump into our guests, we did have an opportunity at our last governing board meeting, that was the November governing board meeting, to recognize three outstanding members of our educational community. We got to recognize the Certified Employee of the Month for Lake Valley Elementary School, and that was Mrs. Anastasia Brantley. Mrs. Brantley is a special education teacher at Lake Valley. She's been in the district for many years, but working in her role at Lake Valley for the past 2 years. And really it's her love for education and kids that rises above all. She's a teacher that shows care, love, and support for all of her students as well as her colleagues. She's a positive member of our team. She's highly collaborative and really is a part of 4 different grade levels that support students. So you'll often see Mrs. Brantley running around from hallway to hallway, classroom to classroom to make sure that the teachers have the support that they need and that her students have the support that they need as they're going through their academic day. Really, it's her level of support for our students that is second to none. She's a strong advocate for her students. She works hard to meet the needs of all of her students as a co-teacher, and she's creative in her practices, and she implements multi-tiered lessons to ensure that all of her students get pushed to their full potential. And really, it's not just Mrs. Brantley, but it's her whole family that are involved in our school community. She's a member of the PTA. She's a member of 4 different professional learning community teams. She comes to all of the family and community events, and you can often find Mrs. Brantley and her family on the sidelines at any of the sporting events and volunteering at all of the school nights and out in the community supporting public education. So Mrs. Brantley, it is our pleasure to congratulate you and recognize you as the November HUSD VIP. We also had the opportunity to recognize our classified staff member of the month. And for anybody who's been in the district for any period of time, it is no surprise that Miss Kimberly Stamper is our classified VIP for the month of November. Mrs. Stamper is in her 5th year at Lake Valley, although she's been in the district really for the last 25 years as a parent. She is a paraprofessional in our special education program. She works with our kindergarten through 3rd grade students and pushes into each of our co-teaching classrooms. Mrs. Stamper is a positive, collaborative member of the campus, takes on constant pride in working at Lake Valley, and she's really truly one of the faces of Lake Valley, if you will. It's her willingness to jump in and help out in any duty with any student in any situation that she sees that is needed, that is commendable. So Mrs. Stamper, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being involved in our community, as well as being a part of our educational family. We see you at community events, parades, Special Olympics, really a strong advocate for public education. It is our pleasure to recognize Mrs. Stamper as the classified VIP for the month of November. And finally, we had an opportunity to recognize one of our outstanding volunteers, Mrs. Ann Babcock, who is really coordinating a volunteer program at Lake Valley. And I have to say this about Ann. Ann came to me last year and recognized a need for volunteers and wanted to really serve as a coordinator on a campus to see if she could increase the number of volunteers at a specific school. We chose Lake Valley, and now we see that it's not just Mrs. Babcock who comes in and volunteers. It's not just her husband that joins her on a consistent basis, but it's her organization of a large number of volunteers for the schools and teachers that has really proven to have a positive impact on our campus. Mrs. Babcock has brought in groups of volunteers to help with health screenings, book fairs, dances, school-wide events, helping out in classrooms from reading to students to running small groups, Really, she's done a tremendous job of bringing some outstanding individuals into our schools. When you see Mrs. Babcock on campus, you'll see her with a smile, a positive attitude, and a willingness to serve and support. And thank you for everything that you do. Our staff, students, families, and community are a better place because of your contribution. So it is our pleasure to recognize you as the November HUSD Volunteer VIP. So let's jump into today's show. As I mentioned, I have two outstanding guests. Got a couple of students from Coyote Springs Elementary School. I'm joined by Ava Lee. Ava, thank you for being here. And Hannah McCabe. Hannah, thank you for being here. Now, you two are a little bit unique. I've had a lot of students on this show, but you are my first two people that have ever presented at a national conference. So last September, Ava and Hannah presented at the Ed Leader 21 National Conference. Hannah, tell me a little bit, what was this national conference for?
So it was about 21st century learning, and our breakout session was about how our habitat uses that.
Okay, so it's 21st century education. This was the Ed Leader 21, which is a national consortium of school districts that are all working on 21st century learning, and Humboldt is a part of that. You guys got to present, and Ava, in your group from Coyote, how many students from Coyote Springs got to present in this?
We had, I think, 5 people present. They were all 6th graders also.
So, and you guys have been doing 21st century learning at Coyote Springs for a really long time.
Yeah.
So, and Ava and Hannah were they were a part of a group. So one of 6 student groups presented at this national conference. However, it was Hannah and Ava were the youngest students ever to present at an Ed Leader National Conference. And you guys talked about your breakout session. So tell me a little bit about what your breakout session was.
So we talked about using our 5 C's and our habitat and how that incorporates with the 21st century learning.
Okay, so tell me about the 5 C's, Ava. When we tell our viewers 5 C's, what are we talking about?
We're talking about like the things that we do at our school. So if there's like a problem at our school, we use the 5 C's, which is like creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and community. And so we use those in projects to help solve our projects,
So these are really, you know, when I went to school, we had to learn, we learned math and English and science. You guys are still learning that stuff.
Yeah.
But you guys have to learn skills that go above and beyond just math, science, and English. You guys are learning about these 5 C's, right? How to apply creativity, critical thinking, etc. Now, a lot of this has to do with, you talked about your habitat class. So tell me a little bit about the presentation, Hannah. What did you guys talk about in your breakout session?
So we talked about like the gardening and how hands-on learning might be a little bit better than like just looking in a textbook, because kids will they might remember it a little better than just reading it off a page.
Yeah.
Like they actually get to do it for themselves. Like they get to do themselves.
And this is kind of a part of sustainability. You guys talk about sustainability at your school, and why is sustainability so important?
Well, it's really important because like if we don't use it, we probably won't get very far in our school and in our projects.
Yeah, you know, this is a big concept. This is something that we're looking at. A lot of universities are focused on this idea of sustainability because you guys have built this habitat, and you need your habitat to be able to sustain itself and contribute to the community so the community can continue to sustain itself. And you guys are doing all of this work in elementary school.
Yeah.
So tell me about your habitat class. What is, talk to me, Ava, a little bit. What is the habitat class? Is that during the school day? When do you guys go to that?
Yeah, we go, so it's part of our specials, one of our specials class. So one of the class goes to it. So each week, one of the classes go to it. And when you're there, Miss Kissinger is our teacher, and she either takes us outside or she lets us do a project that we use one of the C's in it. And so if we go outside, we either help we either help out in the habitat or we do like research about things in the habitat.
You guys are constantly doing research and some design thinking. Now, Hannah, does every student at Coyote Springs go to habitat class at some point?
Yes, throughout the week, each class will go to each of our specials groups. So habitat is just one.
And then you guys, of course, as sixth graders, you guys have been doing this for so long. You guys were selected to present to a national audience about how the habitat uses the 5 C's in your education. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now, have you guys, tell me a little bit about a problem that you've encountered in your habitat, because I would think that a habitat can be kind of a challenge, especially in our area. Ava, tell me about a problem you guys have had.
One of the problems was our rabbits in the habitat were eating a lot of the plants that we were growing, and so we decided to figure out how to make a rabbit fence to keep the rabbits out but still be able to water the plants and let them have sunlight still.
So you guys had to, rabbits are eating the plants, so we had to think about how we're going to solve this problem, right, safely. Right. So tell me about the C's. You talked about the 5 C's. So what C's did we use in this process?
So we had to communicate. So before the school year ended, when we were in 5th grade, this was a problem. So we had to come up with ideas. So we had a partner. We would try and come up with ideas, and we had to collaborate with our partner. We also had to use creativity to come up with something.
Okay, so, and all of those are really ideas related to research, as Ava had said before, so you guys went through that whole process. So let me ask you, you guys presented at this national conference. You're down at the Renaissance Conference Center, and you had school districts from all around the country were there. What was the best part about presenting at a national conference?
I think the best part for me was when we got to meet all the people from like different states. I met people from like Kentucky and from like over on the east side of the country, and so it was
kind of neat that there's other people in the country that are doing some of the work that you're doing, but then these people wanted to hear specifically about your work. So Hannah, what was your favorite part?
Well, I really liked when we presented, because everybody was listening, and it really felt like we knew like all of it.
You guys did a fantastic job in your presentation, by the way. Really a great job, and I know that I was in your presentation, and I was in with some superintendents that I am in other programs with around the country. So it was neat for me to be able to show you guys off to these superintendents I'll be working with again in February when I meet them at our national conference. So now let's talk about the 5 C's, 21st century skills beyond content knowledge. It's not just the habitat. You guys really do this in all of your classes, is that right?
Yes.
So tell me, one of the things that Coyote Springs has really done for the last few years is you guys have done what's called a performance task, where you had to solve a real world problem. Can you guys tell me a little bit about your performance task? One
of our problems was our teacher wanted us to solve a problem in Bangladesh. And so we had to research and write papers about how to help people in Bangladesh prepare for earthquakes. So we wrote papers to them, and then we sent them off to them, and we hope they read it.
Yeah, you're waiting to hear back.
Yeah.
So you guys, how did you? There was this issue in Bangladesh, but how did you know what to write? Walk me through the process, Hannah. What did you guys have to do?
We had to research about Bangladesh and all the earthquakes and all the research they'd already done there. And then we had to take that research and write a letter to Bangladesh about, okay, this is what's happening, and if you guys do not prepare, many may die.
Yeah, and I think so you had to do the research of just the earthquakes.
Yes.
But then we also had to look at when an earthquake happens, what are our building codes like, right?
Yeah.
How do we keep buildings from falling down, things of that nature. So you guys are doing a lot of incredible stuff. I'm pretty impressed. So we have some pictures that we're going to share with our audience from the national conference. And these kind of show a little bit about our students. This is in the ballroom just before getting ready to go to our breakout sessions. And this is the opportunity, as Ava mentioned, just to talk with people from around the country. And in front of the room, getting ready to present to a room full of superintendents and teachers from all over the place. And really, if you had an opportunity to hear this, you'd be impressed. Mrs. Kissinger is the teacher in the Habitat, and she is the one who led the students through the, well, I shouldn't say led the students, because the students led the work through the presentation, but Mrs. Kissinger is really the facilitator of this process. So some neat opportunities, some camera time, got to be on a video forever. You had to spend some time in the ball pit with your superintendent. That was my highlight, by the way. But just a great event. Really proud of our students at Coyote Springs. I want to thank Ava and Hannah for being on today's show. You guys really represented the school and the district well at the conference, and I'm really proud of you. And now we're going to talk to your principal a little bit about some of the things that are happening at Coyote Springs outside of your classroom. So thank you, both of you.
You're welcome.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education?
What are you gonna do?
Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher.
You got the skills.
The smarts?
Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess?
What are you gonna make of yourself?
What are you gonna make of me?
So joining me now is the principal at Coyote Springs Elementary School, Mrs. Candace Blakely Stump. Candace, thanks for joining us today.
Super excited to be here, especially after that great conversation with our students, which makes me just so incredibly proud to know that we're providing these high quality different opportunities for them to be successful in today's ever-changing world.
Right. And gosh, we give them the opportunity to run with something, and they never cease to amaze with their ability to do
right?
great
and they're
things.
sixth graders. I can't wait to see what these kiddos are going to do in the next 5-10 years.
It's pretty
yeah.
exciting. So tell me, Ed Leader 21, Coyote Springs has been a part of that organization for a long time. Really led the district into it, and the district's been district-wide for the last couple years. But where did the idea come from to submit a proposal to have our students present at the national conference?
So you're correct. We've been a member for 5 years at Coyote Springs Elementary School. In our actual second year in, we did a national presentation of doing an Ignite. And so we've always been very well connected with that professional learning community. So ever since that, we've actually tried every year to reapply to get a breakout session. But our focus was typically around adults. And when we shifted it from let's have adults share to adults, to wait a minute, our students are the experts in this area, so let's put our students out in front and have them present, then we became accepted, and there we were.
Yeah, I think we do this in the district all the time. We've spent months and months on strategic planning, and then we do our student panel, and the students could have saved us months and months because they just lay it out for us what we should be doing. Now, I love this idea with the habitat, and you guys really tie this to the habitat. And I like this idea of sustainability, but the habitat's actually played a big role at Coyote Springs. Tell us a little bit about that. What role has that habitat played at Coyote?
It actually has. It's kind of been the center point for a lot of this work that we've been doing, because we truly believe that all of our kids, and all 620 of them, kindergarten through 6th grade, get an opportunity to have hands-on experiences within that habitat. So over the past 5 years, we've taken it from just having different spaces to come out and do some learning activities to a full-on garden where our kids are doing from seed to table, really.
Right.
Because we are now a certified garden within the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Right.
So we're really proud about that. And it just keeps evolving, just like the kids explained. Depending on what problems are going on out there, we're figuring them out and continuing to grow.
Well, and we talked about the 5 C's, and one of the C's at Coyote is community, and certified garden, seed to table. you guys have actually made a couple community connections where that's come to fruition. Talk a little bit about that.
And this is, again, something that just doesn't happen overnight. We strategically planned this for the past 5 years, and when this came to fruition, we were super excited about it. So in the fall, we were able to bring in a pop-up market. The Prescott Traveling Pop-Up Market came to our school,
Right.
and we were actually able to have some of the items from our habitat that we grew out available in the market for everyone to be able to purchase. We did taste testing with our kiddos that day in our cafeteria. A lot of the fruit and vegetables that we grow also get fostered through our food and nutrition department
Right.
at our school, because we are a certified garden. Our kids can actually eat those foods.
So farmers market, right, at Coyote Springs
Right.
Elementary
Yep.
School. And really all of this has led to kind of a quite an honor. Coyote Springs has just given an award. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. So again, all of it plays into the other. So we received the Yavapai County Healthiest School Award, which was quite a process. It's an application process that any school within Yavapai County can apply for, and it's very intense, I have to say.
Right.
It's not just an easy checkbox system. You have to be able to provide evidence and supports for what it is that you're doing to really teach the kids healthy lifestyles.
Right.
And so we're really excited about that, and it's super neat to be recognized for the work that all our teachers and staff and students are doing.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a pretty cool deal. Now, Coyote Springs is not just habitat, and this 21st century education model is not just school gardens. 21st century education, and I always caution people, remember it's 2018, so if we don't get on board, we're going to miss the 21st
Right.
century. We're going to talk about 22nd century. But let's talk about this, because this is a conversation that's happening around the country quite a bit. It's not happening in Arizona as much as it is everywhere else, but talk a little bit about 21st century education. What does that look like at Coyote Springs?
So I definitely consider the work that we're doing at Coyote Springs Elementary School to be the necessary work that needs to be happening at any school,
Right.
anywhere. Because what it is taking our students beyond just content mastery and getting them to be natural at skills that will help them to be successful, whether it's college or career in the future. Things that we know that the job markets are now requiring
Right.
for students
And
to
asking
be able
us
to have.
for. They're asking us to deliver these types of
Exactly.
students.
So within our school, we do so many things to incorporate the C's. You cannot walk into a classroom and see kids, sitting in desks and just listening to the instructor. That's not how it is. Our instructors, our teachers are facilitators, and our students are the ones that are leading the learning and taking that role and responsibility.
And what a great way to teach. I mean, you hear words like persistence and resilience, and do our students have it? That's developed through that process, a growth mindset, being able to work on, critically think through a problem. That's really where persistence and resilience comes from.
Yep, from beginning all the way through to end. And sometimes when they get to that end point, it doesn't work.
Right.
And so guess what? The whole, continuous improvement cycle or the scientific method comes into play, and they have to go back and try again. So then that teaches them that resiliency.
We talk about it's important for us to shift the educational model from the industrialized era model to the information age. And you guys are certainly out front of that. But there's some challenges because we have traditional structures in place too. Talk a little bit about some of the traditional structures and how you guys are addressing those.
There's always those challenges. And for us, we really embrace, and this may sound bizarre, but we really embrace failure amongst everybody. So including our teachers, our students, myself, because without that, you can't have that growth. And some of the things that we are doing, we do the performance task, we do a lot of project-based learning, authentic types of learning with our kiddos. We also give them a chance to be assessed that way. So one of the big challenges, as we know, comes to testing of our kiddos. Knowing that every year our kids have to sit for a certain amount of time and take a state test that is really just a snapshot of their work or progress that they've done throughout an entire school year.
Right.
So through our authentic assessments, where we give them these real world problems, we're breaking down some of those barriers and really being able to see what our kids can do.
It's kind of ironic that our federal and state leaders talk about ideas like 21st century skills and personalized learning, but then require standardized
Right.
testing as a part of their accountability system.
Yeah,
But
we need to work on that.
this is a whole show. What Candace is doing at Coyote Springs and really leading the district is something that's exciting. You saw it from our students. And I think this is something that we need to come back to. But it is that time. We are winding down the December edition of the Humboldt Experience. I want to make sure that I get a couple of important dates out to our audience. We're coming into the holiday season and there will be some school closures. So if you look at the screen, December 5th and December 12th, those are Wednesday 1 hour early releases. That's all of our K-12 schools. And then December 19th is a 1 hour early release, and then December 21st is the last day of the semester. That'll be a 2 hour early release, and that's for all of our K-8 schools. And the reason I say K-8 schools is keep in mind that Bradshaw Mountain High School will be on their final exam schedule for the 20th and 21st. And then it is winter break, December 24th through January 4th. All typical holidays, school sites and offices will be closed. Please check with your front offices on some of those other dates, as our offices will be open, but hours will vary from site to site. And you can always visit us at www.humboldtunified.com. Again, thank you to our students, Ava and Hannah, tremendous job. Mrs. Stump, thanks for joining me on today's show.
Back and talk about some more innovation.
I'm bringing you back.
Okay.
We got a lot to talk about.
Cool.
So everybody, happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of 2018, and we'll see you on the other side for an exciting 2019.
The Humboldt Schools, motivating achievement since 1906.